can say Ogunshina Ismail, right? I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, good. Okay, so I was actually playing around the form before the class started. I was waiting for everything to just start. So this was a little good. I was writing on the form on how to use class components in submitting the form, like I said, and showing it on the DOM. So although we don't really have much time, so I think I'll just go over this again from the beginning so you guys actually see it. Okay, I'm guessing most of us actually use hooks to do this because I think it's a lot easier using hooks with functional components. But I'm just trying to familiarize us with class components, like I always say in every class. It's always very easy to get the basics very well. So if you understand class components, uh, getting along with functional components is going to be a whole lot more easier, despite the fact that functional components are easy by default. Okay. All right. So this is what I am going to do. Okay. So I think I'll just leave states for now. For let me go down here and I am going to explain everything I'm going to do from beginning to end. All right. So I think the two most important things right now are the handle submit function and the handle change function for input. Okay, so basically, what this form actually does is this. So we get the list of all how do I put this? We get list of this is a form that contains everything we need. So according to the task I gave, you have to get first name, you have to get last name, you have to get email, you have to get gender, you have to get address, and also to get bio. Okay, and once you click on submit, it's supposed to get everything that has been inputted by the user and display it, you know, on the code. Okay, so like I said, that's all we have to do, and I used class components in doing this. Okay, so before I start, did anybody use class components in doing this task, or did anybody try to use class components in doing it? Let me see your hand. Anyone? Okay, so um, let's continue then. So basically, what this the main thing now is this. So after rendering your lists, alright, let me make a little change. Okay, so getting the value and the change attribute, which I set to handle change, which is this function. Yeah. Okay, so since I'm using class components, I have to use this keyword, and I had to set it for all of them. Now, for the handle change, what I did was this: I had to pass an event attribute. So what this event attribute did was I had to log the value of this. I had to get the value of the event that was actually being changed and pass it to this variable called value. Now, this is where the tricky part comes in. Now, all we wanted to do was we cannot keep writing handle change, handle change, handle change for this, handle change for that. We cannot write handle change for name, handle change for last name, handle change for email, and the rest. So there's actually a way to go about it. And what's that way? Now, this event that is actually being passed here is able to get everything about this particular input. Okay, so and that includes this name property or this name attribute. Now, so what we do is we want to get the name of the element that's actually being changed. I want to get the value of that, and That's what we do using this dot set state. But for that to work, we have to actually pass in the state so we know what we're actually going to change. Okay, so that's why we use the spread operator here to pass in states and then change the um, the particular value from state in which we're trying to get. So that way, React actually knows which particular input we are actually trying to change, since we're trying to change it dynamically. Okay. Now, after that is done, all we actually do is we handle submit and we call the event, and then we try to restore the default action of the form, which is to always reload the page whenever it's submitted, and then probably just log console log this dot state. So basically, this is just a basic form. Uh, since most of us have actually submitted, there's no need of actually going through the form at all. Okay, so this is a form, and if I come here and type in whatever it is I'm typing, and I come and add this new bio and everything we add here, and we submit, we get this object. Now this is state, which is everything that we have actually typed in here that comes in as a state. Okay, so basically that's just how the form works. I didn't have enough time to actually want to get it to show on the HTML section. We don't really have much time, so I'm trying to rush. As I said, we code it from scratch, but since we don't really have much time, we'll just set into what we have for today. Okay, and that is hooks. Now, hooks are not necessarily new to us. Most of us prefer to even use both with functional components while working. Okay, and so just a brief introduction. Hooks were actually introduced in React 16. Okay, now hooks came with a lot of features, and one of those features was that it was a simplified state, okay, using use state. So with hooks, we weren't going to be using state this way, which is this dot state, using class components with constructors before you write state. It kind of makes your work a lot more tedious and lengthy, okay, using class components. Now that's why um, hooks was actually brought about, and at some point it wasn't always very easy to understand class components with React. So most of the time people found it difficult learning React. Okay, I myself for once, yeah, I think when I was actually learning, it was difficult using class components at first. Okay, I had to redo lots of practice and try to get the basic idea of how to use class components at first. But when hooks actually came out, using hooks was a whole lot easier to understand how to use hooks. Okay, and even with the advent of React 18.0, a whole lot some more hooks have actually been added. Okay, so just for information, React actually did an update, and that's React 18.0. And some things have changed, some things have been updated, some things have been made better. Okay, so at your own time, if you can go take your time, do some research on React 18.0 and see what has been added and what has been removed and how you can actually use it. Okay, so um that's that about that. All right, so let's get into the business of this. So we'll be introducing hooks. Like I said, hooks were actually um, used hooks are actually using functional components without writing a class. And with hooks you could actually use states without having to use a class component and all of that. Okay, so enough talk, and let's get down to business. Okay, so um I will be changing this component, which is okay. So this is actually a functional component. All right. So what I'll do is this. I'll just take everything off and I'll start all over again. Okay. So this time I'll be explaining hooks and breaking it down in detail. Okay. So the first hooks. Okay. We just look at it and just see what it looks like. So I'll use this RAFCE arrow function component and get this. Now, to use hooks, the first one, which is the most popular hook, which is use state. To use it, this is what we actually do. Use state, we call it like this. Yeah, from here, and then that's that. So, uh, I think one of the most popular ways to use hooks is actually to use it for a counter, which is what we're actually going to do now. So let's say, for example, we want to show how many times the button was clicked or something like that. So we could do this. So the button set it to count. Okay. All right. So now this we have this now using use state. All we do is this: we set count, get count, and set count equal to use state and set the initial value of use state to 0. Now, one of the important things you need to understand about use state is that use state could actually take in any data type. Okay, number, string, array, objects, true, false values, you name it. So as long as it's a data type in React and the valid data type, use state can actually take it. Okay. Now let's get the button. So say button and what we could say click me, and this is what we want to get. So on click of this button, what do we want to happen? Uh, I want to run a function. Okay, so there are two ways we could actually do this. We could actually come here and just call the function. So we just call the function and say const handle click like so, and okay, so handle click. And now we just set count. Set count to count plus. Okay. Now we could do this, and then on click of the button, we actually come down here and in reference handle click. Okay. Now if you take this and come down to our so we could actually comment this since we're done with this guy and show this since this is what we're using. save and let's refresh. So if you click on the button, okay, I think I have an error. I think I missed something. Okay, I think it's actually coming from here. Let's see this one. Okay, so, so click here now. You see that it's working. Okay, fine. Now, so this is just a basic example of how use state works, and I'm sure you guys actually understand this. I'm just trying to go through this so for those who will not really understand or how to use it, it's not much of a big deal. Uh, okay, um, let's insert what were you trying to say, or say two inline column that goes to state. Okay, yeah, that will also work too. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so that's also one way to think about it too. Yeah. All right. So this is where I was. Okay. So about this. So like I said, you could actually use all of this with React and populate. So let's just go a little bit down further into using use states. Okay. So we just saw how we could use states as a hook to render um, what's it called, to render states for a counter. Now it just doesn't end there. So we could use states, like I said, use state could actually pass in any kind of data type at all. So we could we'll get something like this. Const, okay, we use a number here. So let's see. Uh, to do's and set to do's is going to be equal to use state and what we want to get from here. Okay, we're just passing an array of objects, whichever. And okay, so we just call this and say task. Uh, let's just say learn React.
Cooking.
Sorry, was there a problem?
I said task, set task to cooking.
So cooking. Okay. Cooking, Abby. Like so. All right. Okay. And then you could add another one and say um, uh, is done, or say let's say done. Let's use done. Okay. To just say that's eating, something like this. So this is also another example of how to use states. Okay, so it can take an object. Okay, you can also take let's say we could do another one. Let's say fruits and set fruits. All right, fruit set fruit, and want to assign it to use states, and if set to something like uh, what's favorite food? Let's see, banana, mango, orange. Yeah, let's use orange. All right, so if we go on and on and on and on about this. Now, for basically, now let's try to get something straight about what hooks are. So, remember how in one of the last classes I made mention of something called life cycle methods, right? And life cycle methods were actually used in class components. Now, they were used to do almost everything. Okay, render you could render just X to the DOM. You could check when the virtual DOM has been rendered and do things from there. Okay, but hooks actually got the same function what life cycle methods actually do in class components, but this time it makes it possible for us to use it with functional components. Okay, and that's one of the best ways, or will I say, it makes it kind of lightweight and easy to use. Okay, now one other hook we have is called the use effect hook. Now, which is this, the use effect hook. Now, the use effect hook. Now, what the use effect hook is actually used for? The use effect hook is used for um, fetching data from a server, adding subscriptions, manually changing the DOM, okay, from React components. Now, the use effect hook is actually a function that comes with a side effect. Now, the side effect is because it can, I think that's why it's even called the use effect hook, because of the side effect it actually comes with, because it can affect other components, and it's not just done during rendering, it's actually done. And this effect that use effect actually has can't be done during rendering. Now, the use effect has the ability to perform side effects from a functional component. Okay, it serves the same purpose as the component did mount, component did update, and components will unmount uh, life cycle methods in class components. Okay, but this time the use effect is a whole lot more powerful because it combines these three features of React into one, and it's that shows us how effective or how uh, powerful use effect can be. Okay, so okay, so I think maybe if we did something about this, we could actually show how use effect is actually used. Uh, but most of the time, we usually use use effect to call APIs. Okay, so that's what use effect is actually used for most of the time. All right. Also, there are other hooks and there are other things we'd like to, you know, touch about hooks, and one of them is rules of using hooks. Okay, hooks are JavaScript functions, but they impose two additional rules. Okay, only use a hook at the top level. Do not call a hook inside loop conditions or nested functions. Okay, so if you notice, you see that the way I actually wrote the use effect hook, it's actually at the top of the functional component. Okay, now it's not that it can be written anywhere else, but due to the fact that these rules are rules that have been set in place by the developers who actually created React. It's actually very important that we take note of this fact that number one, rules can only be called at the top level. Okay, so they are not supposed to be anywhere apart from the top, because that way it's kind of like they can be used globally inside wherever they are, and they are not supposed to be put inside nested functions, because you put a hook inside a inside a function that's inside a function, which is a nested function. um, React will not be able to get uh, the data that is being passed from hooks and so, because that way it's going to be hidden from React per se. Okay, so one other thing we have to take note is that only call hooks from React function component. Uh, not use hooks with regular JavaScript functions. Okay, it will not work. Now, also, we also want to put something else into consideration, that hooks are only used with functional components. Please don't go and use hooks with class components. Okay. Also, I think with that out of the way, uh, I think that's that. Then there are custom hooks. Okay, if you want to use a piece of logic that we need, especially when calling APIs, and we use a particular function over and over and over again. Okay, you could actually turn it into a hook and use it. Okay, so about that, that's popular. Okay, there are two. Okay, not like there are two ways, but one of the ways of actually using it is like creating, maybe using it for use effect. That's whenever I want to create a custom hook. Okay, you could use it for use effects or for use states by combining both of them, depending on what you're actually working on or the scenario in which you're going through at the moment. Okay, so about that, there are still other hooks that we could actually touch a little, and we have one which is use context, which lets, now it's not mostly used all the time, but it could actually be used for to introduce nesting and all. Then there is use reducer that lets you manage local state of complex components with a reducer function. And I think those are a couple of the hooks that we have, and I think that's just basically how we use most of them. Okay, so please, if you have any question at all, please ask before we go further. Any question? I think there are no questions, so that's nice. So, all right. So, okay. So, okay. So, I think I need to iterate over. I think I need to iterate over these two rules again and just try to explain them very well. So, about the two rules that React has on using hooks, about not calling hooks inside loops, conditions, or nested um, functions. So, uh, these there is actually how will I call this? How do I explain this? There's actually an ESLint plugin. So if we all know, ESLint is actually a formatter for JavaScript that helps us write very good JavaScript code. Now, JavaScript actually, classic JavaScript, React developers did create a plugin on ESLint called ESLint plugin React Tools that helps us, you know, make sure we are on track about the rules of using hooks, and which one of them is that hooks can not be called, or hooks should not be called from loops, and hooks should not be called from nested components. Okay, and I think the reason why we haven't actually seen most of all of this, uh, seen errors whenever we're using hooks is because these things have been embedded into React, so naturally they just come up like that, and they help correct our code and give us errors where necessary. Okay, so basically that's just how hooks work. Okay, so let's say, for example, we could actually use multiple. Hello, guys. Please, if possible, try
Barcelona
to.
nil, Eintracht Frankfurt 1. Here's the challenge by Eric Garcia. This is the resultant penalty. 1-0 on the night, 2-1 on
Guys,
aggregate to the
please mute
Bundesliga
yourselves.
side.
Please mute yourselves. All right. Thank you. Okay, guys, please let's be careful not to disrupt the class again, please. Okay, so
Long way to go.
like we are saying, we could use we could use states, the use state hook multiple times in a single component, uh, and we could also use different ones for different purposes. Okay, we could also build our own hooks if uh, what we are trying to work on is actually, or if it demands that, yes, we could actually build our own components. Okay. Um, so basically, that's just what we have for today. Let's see. Trying to build our own hooks. Actually, uh, hooks are kind of like custom hooks are kind of like functions that are reusable. Okay, so let's say we're learning about how to use effect hook in trying to call data from a particular server or so, and as we try to do it, we found that we try to get we run a function that we could use, let's say, in another API call or so, and we do not want to write this function over and over and over again. So we could actually use hooks to actually write that function. Okay, hooks could not like write the function, but reuse the function per se. Okay, now we could actually do that, and that way it's actually a whole lot more uh, easier for us, because all we just have to do is use the hook and put it inside a JavaScript file and call that hook, okay, as it's supposed to be. Now that's basically just how we use the use effect hook. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me see if there's any other information I'm actually missing. Okay. I think that's that. Uh, Also, what else again? What else again? I'm trying to still think of other things that we could actually talk about. Okay, so about hooks, I think we have a couple of them. I'm just going to see if I can call them out so I can remember some of them. I think we have use reducer. Like we said, use reducer is used for reducers when working with state on large apps. Okay, there's use callback, there's use memo, there's use ref. Okay, some of them are even used for testing. Okay, there are lots of them, and you could actually see how they are used. Okay, so with this in mind, I'm actually going to paste a link on the Slack group, so that as we are actually working, whenever we can actually go through it and see what these hooks are all about. Okay. In fact, I think that's just going to be our task for today. Read up on hooks and how to actually use them very well. Okay. All right. So, I think that's just that about hooks. I didn't really want to touch hooks that much because we already understand what hooks are all about. But we actually have something big coming up very soon. I think in our next class, that's what we're actually going to start with, and it's going to be using React to actually create a project from scratch and so compiling the project. So what we'll be doing is we'll be using React to create a website from scratch, okay, using libraries and all. And I think we'll be integrating React Router. I think we'll discuss React Router first of all before we start the project so that it's not as confusing as it's supposed to be with us. And I think that's just basically what we'll be talking about on once we get to our next class. Okay. Anybody has any questions or so that the person wants to ask or about our task or whatever before we proceed? Any questions? Hello. Okay. Blessing, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. The
Okay.
object we created inside the use state,
Yeah.
if we want to use it directly in the DOM, how are we going to like use it that like that? Now, if we want to call it like within the return, we want to create a GSX to return one of those objects. How are we supposed to do that? Or are
Okay.
we supposed to
That's
create a Mhm.
okay. Continue. 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 Let's hear you.
I mean, are we supposed to create an array of items separately? Then we are going to target it, or can we actually target contents? Like we can just target the content of use states array like that. Supposing we have those objects in an array, so can we actually get them one by one?
Okay, that's pertaining to the task that you were given, right?
No, the current work you are doing in the class. Maybe you can just navigate back to the VS Code, sir.
Okay.
Yes, these to dos and set to dos. We created an
Yeah.
object inside this now. I'm now asking,
Okay.
can
Yes.
we
Yes.
can we display these items inside the return? I mean,
Yes,
we
we
can
can.
we display it with GSX? Okay, please, can we do that before we leave this part?
All right. Okay. All right then. Okay. So basically, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. What could we do with this now? Okay. Let's say we set use state set to do's. Okay. Let's see. We say UL and inside your we say to do stuff map and what want to get to do from there. And okay, since we are actually working with objects, it's going to be a whole lot easier if we return not just the to do but the index of the to do. Okay, so Let's get this. I hope this is not confusing for anyone. Now, before we actually return this, I want to do something. So, show the log. Now just say to do. Okay. All right. So we get back the object which is cooking and done to start eating. All right. So now all we want to actually do now is this, that as we iterate over every object which is to do, let's see. All right. Um, let's do this again. Okay. So key. Thank you. So item index and this for what to return inside here. We first of all say to do is going to be uh, is it to do x okay, let's see. Okay, I think we're supposed to look through this again. Let's see. Okay, let's do it this way. So this is to do, which is returning an object for us. So it goes to a, I don't know if this is going to work, a for in loop. Okay, I don't know if this is actually going to work. Let's see. Let's see this I and this is going to do. And this is not going to work. This is not going to work. Okay, so all we could actually do here is this. Let's see. Object entries, and the object we want to apply is to do. All we want to do is we want to map through it, and as we're mapping through it, all we want to get is the key and the value, and this is how we get it. Okay, I'm sorry, this is a nested. Okay, and gets key, which is going to be key, and this is going to be value. All right, so save this, and all right, let's see. Okay. It's getting 0 and 1 for me. Um, okay. This is returning 0 and 1. This is supposed to return. Let me see. Done. 17. Okay, stage of interest in this. Let's see. Okay. Alright. That's okay. So key value. Okay. Okay, this is kind of okay, this is wrong. Okay guys, just give me 1 minute. Let me get this done. Okay, so this is what we're trying to get. Object map. Okay, and the value. Let's see. Okay, I think I'll use a different kind of function. I get this first. Okay, so um, let's see. Change this to object keys. Okay. Okay, now get this, get key, and okay, and key, and this is going to be key, and this is going to do. Okay, sorry. I think I was confused with the function I was actually using. Alright, so let's say I don't know if you were able to
Thank,
sort it.
thank you, sir. It's very clear now.
Okay, okay, so this object of keys, I think it's a method to look through objects that was brought in. I think that was ES8 also. So using that, it's also one way to actually do it. You understand that, right? All right. So any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Um, no other questions. All right. If there are no other questions, then I think we just call it a day here. All right. So actually had planned out that we'll discuss just hooks, but I'm actually going to be giving an article. I'll drop the article on the class this channel. So we'll talk about books very well. That's actually going to help give an elaborate description of all the books and most of them, and the ones you need to keep for reference purposes and the ones you need to use most of the time. So apart from that, I don't think there's anything much we'll be doing. Then come our next class to focus on how to actually consume APIs using books, using easy effects, and I think getting on from there, start moving to building projects with React so that it's actually going to be a lot easier for us. So uh, the plan is just to take things one step at a time actually. So once again, no other questions I guess, right? Alright, so if there are no other questions, I think this is what we'll call for the class today. So thank you very much. It's actually late, so I don't want to take much of the time in case you have other things to do. Alright, I will see you guys in the next class. I hope you enjoy your weekend. So, alright, have a nice day and good night, everybody. Sure. Okay. Alright. So